Hello, welcome back to BSLIVE. In this episode, I want to talk about meme and mashup. So, the other day, a few days ago, I saw this post by Lots a Lot. It's basically some kind of tweet based on these emojis. This is a Twitter emoji, by the way. It looks slightly different on iOS, but this emoji has really got a lot of personalities, and Lotte actually made these animations. I think he was using Blender as well, and he made this character. So I thought, okay, that's really smart, and maybe I can make the same thing. So I thought about it, and I look at the emoji, and I thought, okay, we can get this face, and then we can get these hands, the skulls, and the boots, and the heads, everything from Sketchfab. So I start searching for I start with the skull, for example. We got a lot of skull at Sketchfab. Some of them are something that you need to buy or purchase. This one is actually not bad. That's more like a Mexican kind of skull that you can paint on. Some of them you need to pay, of course. But I look for things like cowboy hat, and Sketchfab really has a lot of really good assets. I pick up some. I think this is the one that I use for my character, based on this meme. And we also have the cowboy's boots. I think the one that I use, I actually mark it with a star, but I normally try to keep credit of the asset that I'm using. And then so I decided to make it inside Blender. So okay, before I go there, so for each asset, I just simply download the GLTF format, and then I simply file, import it into Blender, file, import GLTF or GLB, and so this is the result. This hand actually and the head actually came as a single asset, which is kind of funny. Then and I separate them into different parts. The skull is of course a single asset, and we get this really realistic head, which I subdivided. I can actually get rid of the subdivision, so it's now kind of low poly. Low poly is actually good for meme character. The boost is actually really high quality, and in this case it's actually quite funny because the character itself is not uh, it's not high, it's mostly low poly, but it's kind of work in this context. So from here it's really just a matter of pausing it and make it kind of working for what you are trying to do. You can animate it, of course, but in order to animate it you need to do a little bit of rigging. So that's the thing that I haven't done here, to add some kind of rig, because we can always like position the objects manually, but it's not gonna be good. Okay, let's see. If I were to rig this, I'm gonna go to the front view. The character is of course needs to be facing front, and I will go to orthographic. So a good idea is to pose this character so it's in the T position, or like A positions. The arm, the hands, everything needs to be facing the correct way before you rig anything. So this character can be facing forward. We probably need a rig for the head as well. So let me try. It's good to make it slightly symmetrical. In this case, we don't worry too much about it. You can actually just simply export it as FBX and then bring it into Mixamo. I'm not gonna do that for now. I will use this to make it a little bit faster. So the skull is not symmetrical. This actually adds a lot of personality. You can maybe enlarge some of the skull. It's kind of cute, I think. So create an armature, single bone, and I will rig this very quickly. Hopefully this works. I'm gonna put the bone in the front so we can always see it, otherwise it's behind the mesh sometimes. So let's rig it. So supposedly this is the root. It's okay, I think. I don't need to think too much. Just go to edit mode and then just simply rig it. Start moving and extruding the bone. For the arm, I'll just simply extrude it, but normally it's a good idea to actually unparent it and then reparent the arm separately. Yeah, for now, just extrude it, because normally this part needs to be separate for around the chest area. And normally you can actually mirror the armature if you name it properly, but for now it's okay. So that's actually, yeah, not a very correct way to place the bone, but you can always move it and enable snapping to the volume, because we want to snap this to the volume of the skull. And if you're doing it this way, hopefully it doesn't change the axis of the bone. So it's more or less inside the skeleton head. Extrude with the snapping on, so it's inside the skull. Extrude and extrude one more time. I need to do the same for the arm, by the way. Need to move it inside each and every skeleton and the hand. With Blender, actually you look at the pivot, and that's gonna be where it's gonna rotate. Do I have more than enough bones, I think. Maybe one more over here. Okay, for the body, I'm just gonna turn off the snapping, select the bones, move it inside the skull, then extrude up one more, and maybe one more for the head, but we need to unparent the bone at some point. So move this in. Oops. Oh yeah, see? This part is a little bit wrong. And select this. I'm gonna move it behind. Okay, that's, I think, should be good enough. So it's a good idea is to name each and every parts properly, but in this case I'm not gonna do that either. So select all by type mesh, so it's selecting all the mesh except the armature. Select the armature, Control P, and automatic weight. Okay, bone heat weighting failed to find solutions for one or more bones. Okay, that's kind of too bad. We have to do this another way, or probably we need to join it properly. I have a feeling that if we join them into one object, it's gonna work. I don't know. So select all by type mesh, Control J, and then parent it. Okay, still failed. Okay. In that case, we probably need to use the bones as envelope. So with envelope, we might be able to do it. I think it fails on the head. I have a feeling. So before I do that, if I were to select all by type mesh and then get rid of the skeleton, the head, and then the boots. Maybe just skull will actually works. Oh, it's actually failed on the skull. That's interesting. Let me try actually just selecting. Okay, the hand works. The head probably gonna work as well. The head works. The boots should work. But this part actually failed. So we now have the ability to pose our character. Okay, it's failing around that area, but it shouldn't be a problem. You can always manually do this. I'll show it to you anyway. So bone, we're supposed to name the bones properly. For example, bone number 6 should be influencing this only. So we have to remove other influence except for that bones. So this is bone number 6. Assign it with weight of 1, and we should get rid of the rest. I'm sure there's a better way to do this. That should be good enough. So this should be influencing only this hand. The pivot might be slightly wrong, but we can always modify it. You just go to edit mode and just modify the pivot. Move it down there. So now if we pose this hand, so it's correct. Okay, so we need to do that for every part of this cowboy. The skull parts fail, but we actually, like I said, we can use this envelope, and then we go to edit modes, and with the bones you can see there's some kind of influence volume, and you can actually control that. Oh, okay, so there you go. Envelope deform distance. We need to increase this. So I'm holding, while I'm selecting all the bones, I'm holding shift and options and then dragging this. I'm just gonna try to make sure the envelopes cover the skeleton or the skull. So now I can select all the skeleton. Hopefully this works. Select the bones, Control P. Oh, Control P, and then select envelope weight. Yeah, it's kind of works. It's not 100% perfect, but definitely better. We go to if we were to post this character now, yeah, I think we have to manually do it. Some might recommend to just to parent the skull into the bones manually. That will work as well, but in our case, I think it's better to skin it properly. Let's check the head. Head seems to be okay. This head, the head itself, we need to fix. We need the head to be on the bones 0 to 1. So I'm selecting the head. That's bone 0 to 1. I just assign 100% into that bones. There you go. I'm gonna change the display of the bones as stick. Okay, that's for the head. Actually, I forgot something. We can actually just get rid of all this weighting, and we can add the weighting after the fact. So for example, for these bones, if I get rid of everything, right, no influence on that mesh whatsoever. If I create a vertex group and I simply name it bone 003, this will actually get linked into that guy automatically. If we go to the weight pane and just assign 100%, let's go to edit mode, select the vertices, and then assign 100% to that bone, to that skull. When we go to select the armature and go to pose mode, this skull will be affected by that bones 100%. Okay, so let me do that again. So this skeleton, this skull, I'm just gonna get rid of everything. This should be affected only by bone 004. So no influence whatsoever. Create a new group, call it bone 004. Go to edit mode, assign 100%, go to object mode again. So we have to do this for every single bones. This is actually a process that's called rigging. So you might think, okay, this skull actually should follow bones 005 or something. Okay, in that case, just change the name into 005. Now it's following bone 005. And you might think also, okay, the pivot is definitely wrong. So you go back to edit mode and just move the bones slightly higher. So this is more correct. So now bone 005 is controlling that skull, and bone 006 is controlling the hand. Okay, so like I said again, this is part of the rigging process. Normally, rigging involves adding controls as well. In Blender, that's actually what you need to do if you want to animate or pose a character properly. So this one should be bone 003, but it's wrong. Should be bone 004. So now if we pose this, that arm is posable. Okay, so I'm gonna continue this in my own time, but you at least you start to get some ideas how this is gonna work. So for this, the bones in the middle there, I need to decide whether I want to make it bendy or not. But the things like, for example, this bone 001 should be affecting that bone only. Okay, that skull. Sorry, got mixed. So we have to get rid of everything. Just add a bone 001. So we got no influence whatsoever. Rename this to 001. Go to edit mode. Vertices all selected. Assign 100% weight. Go back to object mode. So now this skull is being affected by that bone. Okay, so it's actually pretty fun to do this. Slightly tedious. There's must be a way to do this more automatically, but this actually can be quite fun. So the boots itself also need to be controlled 100% by that bone, for example. Yeah, I'm just gonna continue. So in the end, we're gonna have a posable cowboy skull, just like the meme. And you can export it as AR in this case. All right, so that's the whole process of this character creations. Really, in this case, Sketchfab really kind of really nice library where you can mix and match and kind of mash up a lot of assets. You still need to credit the artist if you ever want to make animations based on this character. For example, I don't know who started the meme, but the emoji also. I wonder if the emoji is actually copyrighted. Probably the original emoji, like for iOS or Android, is probably copyrighted. But you can always kind of mash up it into another thing. This is actually very clever. If I were to do this with dynamics, yeah, it's gonna be fun. But I think that's pretty much sum up what I want to talk today. Hopefully you find this interesting and useful. Let me know. Okay, by the way, this is not yet animating. It's just posing the character. If you want to animate this, you need to have timeline. And for each bone, you need to keyframe it. And when you are keyframing rotations, you gotta decide whether you want to use quaternion or XYZ or other Euler angle. So basically, but if you want to animate this hand, for example, select the arm, keyframe just the rotations, go to different frame and animate it. So this is very dodgy animations, but that's okay. Just an example. So that's an example of animations. You get interpolations for free. If you want to see the graph editor, like in 3D animations, you go to graph editor, and now you can really see how each bones is animating, and the one that's you're animating. For example, this bone 005. If you only want to see that graph, you need to enable view only selected curve keyframe and select the channel. Okay, so we're not gonna go there. Basically, if you want to animate the character, you can really just look at the pose first, and you deal with this later on, I guess. But you always keep this in mind. You have to always manage the graph in order to get a smooth animations. That's the thing with the 3D animations. So anyway, I have to go back and fix this character. The nice thing about Blender, you can always delete all the animations and then reset the pose using Option G and Option R. It's gonna reset the position and the rotations of the character. And like I said, at any time in point, if you are in Blender, you can always move the pivot of the bones. So that's no problem over there. That's pretty cool for 3D animations. Actually, in some 3D package, you need to worry about the history, and you don't just go to edit your bones. You need to make sure the rig is perfect before you start animating. But in theory, this is actually giving a lot of flexibility. Sometimes you need to worry about the axis rotations, but in this case, it's actually not a problem. What's really matters is the pivot. I think that should pivot over there. We probably need another bones if we want to break this part of the bones. So anyway, yeah. Hopefully this is useful. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.